What's going on, everybody? My name is Arun. Welcome to my channel. This series is a series of Linux operating system tutorials, and in this tutorial we will be looking at the two commands, namely chown and chgrp. Alright, so let's get started. Essentially, if I were to list down all the files and directories in a particular path or particular directory using the long listing format, I'll notice that there is a name in the third and fourth column. The third column specifies the user to which the file actually belongs to, or the directory actually belongs to, and the fourth column denotes the group to which the file or the directory belongs to. So file ownership falls into two categories. So whenever you say the ownership of a file, you have to say to which user the file belongs to and to which group the file actually belongs to. Alright, and depending upon the ownership that based on the file and as well as the group, the group owner and the file owner, you would specify the different kinds of privileges that are available for all the other users. Okay, so just to put this in a different perspective, let me type sudo su. By the way, sudo stands for super user do. It helps you to do permissions with give you temporary privileges to do permissions to do stuff that only a normal user is not allowed to do, but only a super user or root user are allowed to do. And when you type su, you're actually logging in as the super user. So when you type sudo su, it'll ask you for the super user password. Most of the time it's just your normal password, but sometimes your password might be different. And now you press enter. Now instead of logging in as Arun, I'm logged in as root. Now, as I mentioned earlier, root is the ultimate user or the super user in Linux, equal to the system administrator account of Windows, wherein this user has the ultimate privileges. This user can do anything he or she wants, and there's no limit on what the user can do. Alright, now even if I go into as a root user and list down all the files, these files and directories that do not belong to the root, rather they belong to Arun. So Arun over here is actually the file owner. Similarly, Arun over here is the group owner. Okay, so Arun belongs to this group Arun, that's why you put it, and this file belongs to the user Arun, the owner Arun, and the group Arun. Alright, now let me exit out. Okay, exit out, and then let's talk about changing the file and ownerships. Let's say I want this file to be pushed to the root user. Let's say, okay, I want this file to be owned by the root but not by Arun. The command I need to do is chown, okay, and then I have to type the username. So I just type root and then I type the file name and press enter. Now it's saying that changing ownership is operation not permitted. That's because I'm trying to change the owner of this file to root. Okay, so for that I need to give the super user permission and press enter. And now if I type ls-l, now you see, now I cannot do anything about it. Earlier at least I could do something, now I cannot do much with it. Okay, now earlier I had the permissions to go and play around with this file as much as I can. Now I cannot. Let's say if I want to type chmod and chmod, and then let's say I want to push this to 644 permissions. Let's say it means I cannot do much. I cannot do anything. But on the other hand, if only I can do this, make this permission if I become a root. Okay, now let's say I want the permissions to be back. I just have to type chmod, not chmod, chown, type Arun. Now this is my user account, and then I type the file name. That means it won't work, alright, because I'm again playing around with the super user account or the root user account. So I have to press sudo at the front and type enter to own this file. Now I type ls-l, there you go. Unlike the previous case wherein the file was owned by root, now this file is owned by me. I'm the file owner now. Earlier the file owner was root, now the file owner is me. Cool. If instead of the root user, let's say you want to push this to some other, let's say, okay, so instead of Arun, let's say I want to push this to my brother's account, let's say Ram, press enter. it says invalid username ram because I haven't created a new user called as ram. Alright, that's what's giving me an invalid name. On the other hand, let's say in your computer or in your server system, there is another user account for you or for somebody else. If you put their name and if you give the right permissions, you'll be able to change the permissions accordingly. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go to the next command, chgrp. The syntax is pretty similar. Just type the chgrp and then type the account to which the file the group owner. Okay, so if you just change the chgrp and then type root, if you type root over here, this file will belong to the root user, and the group owner of this file will be the root. So if you type netbeans and press enter, again it will give me the same super user permission. I have to type sudo in front of it. Okay, type ls-l. Now this file, although I am the user, it belongs to as a group, it belongs to the root. So since it belongs to me as well as the group, let's say, as well as the group root, let's say, okay, I still have the permissions to change whatever I want. I still have the permissions to do whatever I want, and at the same time the root user can also do whatever he or she wants. Alright, so this way I have the settings. Now I have power to make modifications to the file, and also the other users can also make modifications this way. Let's say I want a condition where I want to change both the owner and the group simultaneously. Can we do that? It's possible. For that you have to type this command chmod, and then you have to type the root file owner first of all, and then you have to type the group owner with after a colon, and then type the file name. So okay, since I'm using the root user here, it'll have to use sudo to get the permissions. What did I type? Sorry, it's not chmod, it's chown. Press enter. Now if you see long listing format, now you see this file is totally owned by the root. The file owner and the group owner of this group owner is the root. Okay, let's say I want to change this back to the way it originally was. I type Arun and then type Arun. I still need to put the sudo because I'm changing it from the root user, and press enter. There you go. Now I completely own the file. This is of pretty much importance because in your computer or in other Linux machines, you might come across different varieties, different names for users and groups. For instance, just to give you a sample, you don't have to. Okay, go to the main directory and then type ls-l, and you see all these files and directories are owned by root. So if you are a root user, you have all the privileges to do whatever you want in this. Other users just have permissions to go and visit them, but they do not have any permissions to go and make any modification. They can go inside and have a look, but they cannot edit files or delete the files and stuff and all. Okay, and now let's say if I go to the folder, media. Okay, and list down the files. You see this folder Arun is owned by both the file as well as the group by root, whereas this folder sf_share_folder, this is owned, the root user owns the file, whereas the vbox_sf owns the group. So vbox_sf is actually the group owner, whereas root is the file owner. Alright, either way, what is this telling me is that if I want to go into sf share folder, let's say, I do not have any permissions. Whereas over here, since the root is the owner of this file, I can actually go inside, but I cannot do much modifications, because for me the permission is just read and execute. That is, I can just see what's inside and go inside and come out like that, but I cannot do any modification. So if I were to type, let's say, make directory sample, permission denied. Okay, I do not have any permissions to do stuff in it, here. On the other hand, let's say if I were to become the super user, let's say su and press ls, I can do whatever I want right now. If I go to cd Arun, let's say, okay, if I type mkdir sample, there is a folder sample, and I can remove this with rmdir. Okay, and now I can go into sf share, let's say, and like listen to all the files and directories. Now if I type long listing format over here, now you see that these files have a different file owner and a different group owner. Likewise, there will be different group owners and different file owners, and depending upon who owns it as a file or as a group, your permissions significantly vary. And if you want to gain access, let's say, then you might have to change the group owner, or the file owner or the group owner, depending upon the scenario. So in those two cases, these commands chown and chgrp are pretty useful. Sometimes if you have a root user permissions, let's say, that is the root user passwords, let's say, you have all the permissions of the root user under certain circumstances and to proceed with. Other than that, if you're just a normal user without any super user permissions, then you may not be able to do much about this. So just to put it out there. All right. Now, so this is how you change the file owner and the group owner, and that this is the relevance of different file ownerships, and this will be very useful in the future if you're playing around with files and directories. That's all I have for you all in this tutorial. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next time in another interesting video. Till then, take care.